Indisputably the single most important electric guitar of all time, played by countless scores of legendary guitarists and used on countless platinum-selling records. From the slick Houston blues of Albert Collins' double-bound, humbucker-loaded, natural ash finished 66 Tele Custom, to the driving punk rock of Joe Strummer's grey auto-primered and flat black spray-painted Relic, the boom chicka boom of Luther Perkins' cream 55 Esquire, to the Britpop of Graham Coxon's PAF-loaded 68 Telecaster, the subtly plucked heartstrings of Jeff Buckley's quarter-pounder-loaded mirror-plated 83, to the ska-inspired grooves of Andy Summers' beat-up, badly modified 61, the sugar-sweet punk pop of Avril Lavigne's checkerboard-plated humbucking Squire, to the genre-defining hard riffs of Jim Root's EMG-loaded, mahogany matte-finished signature model, the coarse tones of Roy Buchanan's weirdly customised with a penny under the middle saddle Nancy Telecaster, to the blistering solos of Nick Jonas. The Fender, Broadcaster, then Nocaster, then Telecaster and Esquire has proven itself to be everything the modern musician needs, not only sonically but aesthetically too. Appearing on front covers in the hands of everyone from Chrissy Hines to Bruce Springsteen to Nirvana to Robin Ford to Courtney Barnett to The Shadows, and pretty much every Roy Buchanan album cover ever. There are so many examples of this guitar being iconic that it's taken the Guitar Nerds team an age to settle on a final 10. The Guitar Nerds podcast is the world's #1 guitar podcast, available on Spotify, Apple Music, or any good podcast app. Tune in for free weekly episodes. And with that in mind, I'm Joe from Guitar Nerds, and this is our top 10 most iconic Telecasters of all time, part 1. John 5 owns enough Telecasters to build a house using Telecasters as bricks. A spattering of signature models, some rarities, some old, some new, but none more iconic than this. At number 10, the John 5 Lavalamp Custom Shop Telecaster. No man has proven himself to be a lover of Telecasters more than John 5. Imagine being one of the most important guitarists in metal and only playing Telecasters. Sure, some of them are humbucker loaded, but by no means all of them. 5 transformed the Telecaster into a heavy metal axe, and when he appeared live with his Wave Motions machines, antifreeze green fluid filled Custom Shop Telecaster, he earned himself a place on this list. The Custom Shop fender is hollow, but the plexiglass still needs to be quite thick in order to be stable, and it's filled with liquid. The overall size of a Telecaster plus the inherent weight of plexiglass and the fluid means that this guitar weighs an absolute ton. But as the instrument is not only filled with liquid, it also lights up and glows green in the dark, I'm not sure anything ever could be more extreme than this. 5 has been known to have a few weird Telecasters, from his first signature model with a 12-string style headstock to his second signature model in gold with a gold scratch plate and gold hardware, to stained glass window custom shops, to Telecasters made from LED lights, to baritone Teles, to completely mirrored Teles, to riveted metal plated Teles, and boasting ownership of a Telecaster from every single year of production from Broadcaster to modern day. John 5 is the absolute authority on Telecasters, and nothing has lit up stadiums the world over quite like John 5's Lavalamp Custom Shop Telecaster. Since its creation, a handful of always blues players have been given the mantle Master of the Telecaster, but none more deserving than James Burton. At number 9, James Burton's legendary Paisley Telecaster. Now, adding Burton to this list was tricky because he's played a score of Teles throughout his career, each one as iconic as the last. From his red 53 Telecaster, purchased for him by his parents when he was 13 years old instead of buying a new family car, to his score of flame Paisley finished signature models, James Burton's had a lot of cool guitars. We could have easily given this position to Burton's 1996 signature model, commonly referred to as the Burton Upgrade, a perfect blend of all the Telecasters from Burton's career, featuring 3 specially designed noiseless Tele pickups, a 5-way Strata Tele pickup selector, gold-plated shallow tuners with pearl or black chrome buttons, gold hardware, and a blue or red flame finish over a black base coat. The guitar even features in plans as a giant monument outside the James Burton Guitars and Car Museum. But Burton's most iconic Tele is undoubtedly his Paisley 68 Telecaster, gifted to him by the Vice President of Fender, Chuck Wiener, and used on countless Elvis Presley live sessions and performances. Burton had initially been concerned that the guitar was too blingy to be used backing up the King, but after he received approval from the man himself, the guitar became a mainstay of Elvis Presley live performances. The legendary pink Paisley Tele that backed up the King. One of very few non-trad rock guitarists to make it anywhere near the Rolling Stones' top 50 guitarists of all time, Radiohead's very own Jonny Greenwood. So at number 8, Jonny Greenwood's Fender Telecaster Plus version 1. Before Greenwood popped one of these rather odd renditions of the Telecaster over his shoulder, the instrument was relatively unpopular. Released in 1989 at a relatively awkward time for Fender, digital rack gear was king, lace sensor pickups, thin necks, and active circuitry was the order of the day, and Fender were finding it hard to find a place for their rather traditional twanger. But thanks to the guitar appearing on pretty much every single track and live performance for Radiohead since 1995, the resale value of the Tele Pluses has gone through the roof, helped a little bit by the fact that they didn't make very many of the version 1s. Greenwood in fact owned 3 Tele Pluses over a period of time. 2 of them were stolen in succession, but the 3rd one would become the stuff of legends. Complete with a large Honda sticker and another for manga and anime series Attack Number 1, the instrument would become synonymous with glitchy, off-kilter rock. His Tele Plus featured a lace sensor blue single coil in the neck and lace sensor red dually humbucker in the bridge, doing away with the traditional Telecaster single coil setup. The instruments also standardly feature a coil split for the humbucker, but not this one. Greenwood customized each of his tobacco burst standard finish American-made Fenders by removing the 3-way toggle and coil split and replacing it with a single kill switch, leaving the bridge pickup to be used in humbucker mode only. Appearing on nearly every Radiohead live performance since 1995, and probably on every single Radiohead album since then as well, the Jonny Greenwood Tele Plus is about as iconic as it gets. A guitar that has potentially seen more stadium live performances than any other Telecaster in history. At number 7, Keith Richards' Micawber. As if being the instrument of Rolling Stones' Riffmeister wasn't enough, this guitar was in fact gifted to Keith Richards by Eric Clapton on his 27th birthday. The guitar started life as a 1954 standard Telecaster with 6 strings and single coils, and initially that's how Richards played the guitar. But in 1972, Keith's guitar tech Ted Newman Jones III replaced the single coil in the neck with a big old Gibson PAF humbucker. Oddly, Richards had the pickup turned backwards so that the pole pieces were facing the rear bout of the guitar. He also switched out the bridge pickup for a Fender branded lap steel pickup, tonally similar to the original Broadcaster pickup. He replaced the bridge with a brass 6-saddle bridge and then had the low E saddle removed, setting the guitar up for Richards' standard 5-string open G tuning. The name Micawber came from Richards' love of literature, specifically Charles Dickens and his masterpiece, the personal histories, adventures, experience and observations of David Copperfield the Younger of Blunderstone Rookery, which featured the oft optimistic clerk Wilkins Micawber. Founder and centre stage of the ultimate British boogie rock band, Francis Rossi rebuilt his guitar more times than John 5 bought Telecasters. At number 6, Francis Rossi's half-painted green Telecaster. Purchased for £70 in 1968, the then standard Telecaster, dated both 1957 by the band and 1959 by the band's tech, would not stay standard much longer. Rossi initially sanded the guitar down to a natural finish, had a brief stint with it refinished black, sanded it down again, and then started painting it green with a can of old paint he found lying around. However, he never finished the paint job before having to put the guitar back together and take it on tour, and that is how the guitar stayed. One of the oddest and so most unique and recognisable customisations of the Rossi Green Telecaster is the giant hole drilled through it. Rossi himself doesn't seem to have a solid idea for why he did it either. Some have said it was so that you could run a bike chain through the guitar and chain it up backstage. Others have said he intended to use it to thread his guitar cable through, but never did. But it's also just as likely that he got drunk and found a drill. One of the other odd customizations was the bridge. Rossi had the Telecaster bridge literally sawn in half to remove the traditional Telecaster saddles and replace it with a Gibson Tunematic bridge extending down the body. In the mid-90s, when Rossi was in the thralls of later middle age, he had the Telecaster pickups removed and replaced with lace sensor strap pickups, essentially turning the guitar into a Telecaster in looks alone. But for the bulk of Status Quo's heyday, this mean green Telecaster machine was a whole load of awesome. So there you have it, part 1 of the Guitar Nerd's top 10 most iconic Telecasters of all time. Click over to part 2 now to find out what our top 5 picks are for this list. And if you've liked this video, then give us a like and subscribe to Guitar Nerds for more weekly geeky guitar videos. Farewell.